Recording in progress. It did not give us the announcement, so I will do it for the computer. Oh, welcome, 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 my gorgeous everyday women. It is summit number 444444 because I turned 44 this year and I'm silly and I think it's hilarious to use more than one four. The identity in the mundane is the topic of conversation there. Hands-on, hearts open conversation with beautiful women who have so willingly, so honestly said yes to come and join me in yet another crazy idea thrown together, yet with deep intention and purpose. My sister, this summit is a series of six. This is summit number four in the series, really intended to pour into the everyday woman, the woman who is living and a regular life, a Monday to Friday, kids, jobs, responsibilities, but knows that there's desires in her heart that yearn and deserve space in the world. And the big message around the identity in the mundane is that we are the majority. You know, there's the Oprahs and the Princess Dianas and the Mother Teresas. I always try to think of non-North American examples. If you guys have some, let me know. And they have a bigger, maybe more famous, shiny role to play. But we are the majority. We are the bigger army, and we make a difference everywhere we go by how we interact with others, how we love ourselves, and the legacy building actions that we choose to take responsibility for in our day to day. Big concept example is in my day-to-day job, I deal with neighbors complaining about each other. And this can be a very toxic, negative environment where people just are so asinine about their concerns, primarily parking where I live. God bless that we live somewhere so good where parking complaints are the number one concern. And there's a lot of different ways that those matters could be handled, but to handle them with kindness, with emotional intelligence, with spiritual connection, with body regulation makes such a significant difference in these people's lives, even if it's in the moment. I've had so many interactions at the counter that they come in grumpy and we hold space for 10 minutes and they walk away feeling lighter. And that's what I'm talking about in the power of the everyday women, is those micro moments that have macro results. And I'm not responsible for where it goes thereafter. I just know that I held them in a different way that made a difference of some kind to me and to them, and therefore out into the ripple. So that's the real basis and foundation of this whole summit series, is to give a voice to that underdog, that woman who might feel unseen, who is showing up and trying and might be wondering when her breakthrough is going to come. Sister, your breakthrough is when you choose it. Your breakthrough is in how you show up. Your breakthrough is in anchoring into your identity in the mundane. And that's what we're going to talk about today in a roundtable type of conversation, almost podcast episode, and women's circle hybrid of all those things, to explore these concepts, to give tangible examples that you're not walking away with, further questions, that you're walking away with anchor points that you can identify and relate to and take into your life. So, as a women's circle, we're here to listen and witness. We're here to support and encourage, and we're not here to fix or judge, right? I'm not perfect. I don't have it all figured out. I was sweating bullets up until, I don't know, half an hour ago, but then we all had such a gorgeous conversation before hitting record, and I've settled in. And that's okay, because I can trust myself and I can hold myself through that. And that's what I want us to do for each other, that we're self-regulating together rather than reacting and trying to prove ourselves or trying to shine. There's room for all of us to shine, and where our strength is in holding each other so that we can each shine individually. I'm recording, sweetie. This 7-year-old just got up. Hey, what are you going to do? The sign's on the door. So that's how we're going to hold space in this women's circle for ourselves today. Okay. And that's for the listeners and those who engage later, and that's for us who are here now. We've already done such a beautiful job of that in our extensive preamble that was so delicious and gorgeous. Wow, and I'm so grateful for. So we're going to start out here with me putting myself front and center, a place that I'm sometimes uncomfortable with because I'm so used to gathering women and showing them off, and that being the way that I show myself off. But I'm going to show myself off a little bit more today, and I'm actually going to read you a blog that I wrote a little while ago around the 4 pillars that I've used to strengthen and create momentum with my identity in the mundane. And they've become the foundation for my life coaching business and for the way that I show up in my day-to-day life. So there's 4 pillars for living a powerful life every day. And those 4 pillars are spiritual intelligence. Beginning for me, it's deep in the torso through the heart and womb where I connect to the supernatural. And I feel it like this endless portal through the worlds, the spiritual world and the world on earth. And from there, the spirit feeds into heart intelligence, pillar number 2, where love and pain live together, right? Like tattoos on our hearts, both existing together. And we want love, happy love, and sad love to guide our heart in kindness and compassion. And then that feeds into emotional intelligence, which tends to connect into the mind and direct how we react to the world around us. And from there, it trickles back through the body, the nervous system reacting, right? Survival mode, abundance mode, all the different feels, the sweat that I was having leading up to the summit today, the natural reactions, and bringing it back to anchor in body. We're safe. Mind, we can lead, as a computer. Heart and soul, we can hold the space and have meaningful connection and conversation. So those are the 4 pillars. And here's how they work in my life, how I connect to them. Starting with pillar 1, spiritual intelligence. I ask you, my sister, what do you believe in beyond this earthly world? Connecting to faith allows us to supercharge our current state of being. I believe in God, Jesus Christ, the Bible. That is a new faith that I have become more convicted in the last 2.5 years. And I'm still newly walking in that. Prior, I was all about the metaphysical, manifestation, those sorts of things. But the deeper I go with God, the more structured and orderly it is and feels for me. And I love that. And I encourage you to explore your faith at a deeper level. What does it really mean? What does it feel like deep inside your body? Because if you separate your spirit from yourself, you're separating from your nervous system, and then everything kind of gets a little too loosey-goosey. So we want to bring it in. We want to connect to what's bigger to get strength beyond the flesh. A love so deep, so big, so limitless that our worth comes from that place rather than anywhere that we're trying to prove or grasp for. I spent so long searching for my identity. I have to figure out how to really tell my story from about age 13 to 40 because there's so much identity seeking outwardly. And it all ended up being inside already in the spirit. So that's how I can have the ability to be more than I am on my own, is with my faith. And then I can attract more, more joy, more presence, serve bigger, create more. This whole summit series, that's not me. That's God led. He dropped it on me. He was like, when are you going to do this? Move, move, move. It was about June to February before I finally got off my butt. And then in February 2025, it was like a 6-week lead up. Like, okay, hard deadline. Let's go. But I had that spiritual connection and support. We can only take ourselves so far, but with faith and your connection to faith. I know what works for me. I want you to figure out what works for you, right? That's what's intended for us, and that's how we can really be satiated in our identity in the mundane, is knowing that we're connected to something so much greater and living out that purpose. Pillar two is the heart intelligence. This is a little riddle I love to run with my daughter. What can we always have more of and never run out of? Love, love, love. What would more love look like in your life? Would it be just being softer and more surrendered and accepting of circumstances? You know, Corrie ten Boom, spelled the way it sounds, was a Holocaust prisoner. And she wrote a book along with a few others, but she wrote a book with a story about being trapped in a prison cell that was infested with fleas. How much worse could it get? Like you're crammed like sardines. There's probably dead people and live people all intermixed, crammed into this horrible concrete, windowless, stinky, depraved cell, and then you have fleas on top of it. Come on. But with love, the softer, surrendered acceptance of that helped her realize the fleas kept the guards away. The guards didn't want to come in there and abuse those people further because they didn't want to get fleas. So it could have got worse. And that is what I'm talking about, softered, surrendered love. It's good and it's bad. It's love and pain living together in the heart. And I can speak to this later. We all have love and pain in our hearts. It's knowing what our sincere values are. It's acting from conscious awareness of those values. Not that they're just a sticky note or in a business plan that sit static on paper, that they live inside you, that they are a part of how you show up. My values at the counter is to not be a jerk, is to just witness people as they are and not take it personally. And man, I was the queen of taking it personally for so long. I loved taking it personally. I was like, let's take it personally all day. And I've had to build that boundary with myself and create that distance. And it's been very empowering to know that my worth is not defined by how someone treats me, and that I love myself deeper on my values because I know who I am and what I stand for. Love, ambition, service, and levity, joy, right? And that they work together. And I live in my heart, not from ego or proving. This is again why the everyday woman, humble but necessary, maybe so-called small but exquisite, and that we are the majority. The majority. As a life coach, the coaching world is like speaking to 2% or less of the population, the big time high money chasing achievers. But what about the rest of us? Where do we get to shine and still be important and significant? It's with each other in the day to day. So, this is how we learn to do, how to be, right, with what truly matters. What are you going to take to your deathbed? What are you going to be thinking on your last days of respite about the shape and print, soul print of your heart? And how are we going to live out each day towards that destination? We're honest when it's uncomfortable. We speak with integrity. Our word means our word. I am stripping back an identity of being a liar in my household, and it is confronting and difficult. But now, because that's been revealed, I can be free of it and I can show up going, I'm being honest, I'm in integrity, and recalibrating to that now. And it is freedom unlike anything else. And it doesn't mean it's always fun when there's conflict around that, but it means that I get to now build that vibration stronger and stronger and stronger. No, I'm not lying. No, I'm not shrinking. Am I? No, I'm standing in this. I know where I'm at now. I know how I used to be, and I can really see the difference. Sort of like a tan line, if you want, like a very tangible tan line. And this is because I'm spending time in my spirit, getting to know and getting clear on why am I reacting the way I'm reacting, tying it back. And this is how I grow capacity to hold more space with others without absorbing what they want to project onto us. The angry customer, the hurt husband, the upset child, they're having their feelings. And I'm self checking that I'm acting from my value system and from my integrity, my transparency, my honesty with myself, and loving myself through that, even if I made a mistake, especially when I made a mistake, and not hiding from that mistake. Yep, I screwed up. I'm so sorry. Can you forgive me? How can we move forward? So keeping your heart open to live more deeply. It's such a freedom ride. It's such a freedom ride. My mind is still catching up to it spiritually. Pillar 3, emotional intelligence. And the more you understand yourself, the better you can relate to others and give space for them to be who they are. Regulating yourself prior to reacting brings you into an empowered state of awareness versus defensiveness. Ooh, taking it personally? What do you think that comes with? Acting defensively. You're coming after my character? Ah, activate. It was always the stomach. Huge butterflies in the stomach, like it dropped out, like roller coaster drop. But instead, imagine being able to let your emotions be expressed without consuming you. We want to feel them, we want to purge them from our body. My latest trigger and upset, I actually lifted weights. I had so much energy vibrating through my body, so much emotion. I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't just sit here in it. So I lifted weights, 25 pounders, burp, burp on these babies. Thank you very much. Taking care of future self. Reading myself through conflict, leaning into the emotion to see what it's going to uncover and tell me about myself, tying it back through the heart, back into the spirit. This is how they stack onto each other, these pillars. Leading myself towards what I want, then I will speak boldly about the conflict. I will own the emotion in it, but I don't necessarily have to burst out in rage around it either. Take time to process, take time to release that emotion, come back to grounding. And this is how we can overcome uncertainty and be more solid in our identity. Is this true? Did I do that maliciously? What else might have happened here? And bring it back around. And this is an ongoing journey. It's not like all of a sudden we're arrived at some utopian version of ourselves that just sits in perfect calm and normalcy and self-regulation and love all the time. We're always going to be triggered. We're always going to have emotions. What gets better is the way that we navigate ourselves through them. And this is why the pillars tie together to hold us. We connect our heart to our spirit, to our emotions, and then our body has to learn how to process that in a new way, which means you have to start observing yourself before you react from autopilot. So if we zoom forward to 50 years from now, I'm 44, I'd be 94. Or if I go back 15 years and consider the different versions of myself that have been, what do I want? I'm so proud of the woman that I've become, and I'm so proud of the woman that I'm becoming. And that is happening one choice at a time, one moment at a time, that stacks and stacks over a lifetime. So that I can look back from my deathbed, having lived satiated, present, honest, and open and vulnerable, willing to look at all my glory and all my gore. That duality has to be there together and embraced wholly. That'll have soaked up joy and grief, laughter and anger, kindness, and staying kind even when other people are not. That's important too, because if we lean into their blackness, it all kind of becomes meaningless. We need to stay bold and brave and continue to be the light and lead into new experiences. Nancy was talking about just being so willing to have new experiences. Meg is teaching Learn to Say Yes around leaning into what could be possible. And that can mean saying no to certain things too. Healing as an ongoing journey, never being fully healed. We're always uncovering deeper and deeper layers of ourselves and not being afraid of conflict as a result, because that's where we actually do the deeper healing is when we're confronted with it. And our body, this beautiful, beautiful body, not a body for vanity, but a body for vitality, a body in which we can experience and express and hold and move around in and on earth. It's our container. It's our cellular experience, our embedded DNA, our neural pathways, our muscle memories, our physical scars, our emotional scars, the stories of our soul. It's like our entire scrapbook of life. Again, before we hit record, the women were talking about getting rid of stuff. But you know what you don't get rid of is your lived experience. All of it. All those, I could really self-judge the sex, drugs, and rock and roll that I did in my early 20s. But I hold that now. I have to lean into that and love that version of myself who was seeking herself outwardly rather than coming in. The body gives us signals. It reacts physiologically from the amygdala, science class, as our scrapbook, as our diary for our lived experience. When do you spend time thinking about your stomach activation, your feet, your ears? When do you really connect to the tangible physical essence of your body, the sweaty palms, the happy flutters, the ability of your arms to hug somebody and receive a hug and how that feels? This is a deeper way to pay attention, which the body needs. It needs care and it needs movement and it needs you to appreciate what it does for you. When I had my daughter, we were this close. If you're listening to the audio, like a quarter inch from death. We were a quarter inch from death, honest to goodness. I had preeclampsia. Symptoms were escalating into HELP, which is an acronym for basically all your body organs dying from the toxemia of pregnancy. And I had never been more peaceful and connected to the supernatural and love than in those moments. The body was asking, spirit was calling, and we surrendered and we're thriving. As you can see, she woke up and popped over full of beans. Your body holds everything and it can support you. It can help you reprogram. It can help you see a new you or the you that's in there that you lost track of. And knowing where triggers and feelings come up means that then you can shoot, go and meet your body there, right? When my stomach flutters from a worthiness issue, I can shoot, send love and meet my body there, and then, comfort each other together and calm down and come back to inherent worthiness and safety and knowing of who I am. This is the evidence of building of what's possible and what can be achieved. Is it hard? Is it uncomfortable? Is it challenging? Yeah. Is it worth it? Yeah. Right now, globally, the Winter Olympics are on, and I'm bawling my face, perimenopause or not, every time I'm watching them because it is so glorious. They've spent their whole lives working up to this. They've been so committed to their vision. Do you think it was hard? Do you think it's been uncomfortable or challenging, particularly when they lose? But is it worth it? Is it all worth it? Yes. They're doing this beautiful synchronistic combination of these pillars to achieve a greater goal. And how inspired do we feel by all of that? How changed might we feel by watching them? I don't know if you guys caught Alyssa Liu, her figure skating performance in the gold dress. I have never seen an athlete show up at the Olympics and have so much fun and feel so free and playful in her performance. Most of the athletes are like serious face and okay and everything, my whole everything is riding on this. And she was just like, I can't wait to go out there and play. And it was glorious. It was glorious. I don't think she bypassed any of the insecurities or the mindsets or any of those things as a result of it. but when it came time to perform, she let herself have fun. So here's how these things connect with each other. Here's how I've arranged my life, organized myself and my identity as an everyday woman to live a life of purpose, of meaning, of joy, and of ongoing curiosity and self-building in the mundane, of running a summit on a Sunday because I work Monday to Friday, of, having an office inside of my bedroom and a background that's not the perfect Pinterest setup. I don't care. I'm just real. And this is what it is. I put earrings on today. That's the extent of my like wow factor. And also, like, I don't have fancy equipment around me. I'm recording on a secondhand refurbished iMac and it works great. I listen to my podcasts, I listen to my recordings, they sound great, right? There doesn't need to be um, prerequisites or qualifications. It just needs to be pure heart led. So let's bring the women on who are joining me today so that we can dive into some roundtable conversation around this and serve you and encourage you to so that you can see yourself where you are, how you are now. So please welcome and feel free to unmute yourselves, my beautiful ladies. We've got Anda, Meg, Nancy, and Shannon joining from all over the world, mostly America, but Anda's in South Africa, so we're international, and I'm in Canada. So welcome everybody. Let's start with the concept of who do you see yourself as and who do you wish you were or who are you still wanting to become? So you can introduce yourself and your business and then talk about who do you see yourself as and not what you want. Definitely, we're not materialistic women. In fact, ladies, three of these, Meg, Nancy, and Shannon, are in a state of purging possessions in order to make more space for their spirit to live and have joy in the world. So I'll let you guys self-direct who wants to go first and pop these questions in the chat. Who do you see yourself as? Not what you have or want, but who you are.
Look, we're all being two. I'll go, even though I'm not exactly sure how to answer the question, but I'll just start and then we'll get better.
Yeah.
First off, I really appreciated everything you just said. I wrote so many notes. I'm so grateful for how much thought you put into that. And one thing I wanted to share with that is I was listening. I too believe in God and I love Jesus Christ. He's my Lord and Savior. And I heard someone say the other day, and it meant so much to me. So I just wanted to tack this on to what you said. We are a spirit, a soul, and a body. And when you're born again, your spirit it's the righteousness of God. And so in those moments when your body is feeling, and this is something I'm working on, so maybe this is who I want to be, but in those moments when your body is doing the thing where you're sweating, and I was coming upstairs, to be totally honest, my husband's like, "Why don't you have any socks on?" I go, "I get really sweaty when I do these things." I just get really sweaty, so I take my socks off.
You take them off, I put them on.
I take them off. I get sweaty. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just get
feet
sweaty."
too, so I wear the socks because yeah.
Oh, I gotta let the dogs bark. So anyway, I was listening and it said your spirit is everywhere it needs to be. Just as Jesus was, so are we. So if you can, and you said this, but I loved it, you can have your spirit look at your soul and your body and say, it's okay. We're okay. None of this matters. And when I can do that and I can treat that my body and my soul as a child and know how I would treat a child who was going through that, it is the most beautiful, calming thing you can do. It's like, hey, none of this really matters. We're fine right now. So that is something I'm working on. I'm just always remembering that. And the other thing is, it's so interesting, but when I was praying this morning, so something I want to get better at it. I'm pretty good at spending time alone in prayer every day. But something I actually prayed about this morning is I'm confused about something. And so we're not supposed to be confused. And one of the reasons I was confused is because I was trying to judge something. I was trying to figure something out. And I said, you know what, Lord, just fill me with love so I can look at everybody else with love and let you do the judging. So I think I'm trying to get myself more full of love, because anytime you're discontent, it just means that you don't understand how loved you are.
Mm,
Anytime you're comparing yourself to other people, it just means you don't know how loved you are. You're looking for who you are outside of you, which you hit beautifully. Once you just bring it all back in, you're walking, then you're not comparing yourself to anybody else. You realize you're made exactly how you're supposed to be. And then we've talked about this before me, I think, maybe not, but you're talking about the mundane, and I always want people to say if they're listening to us, and Meg helps people figure out what their yes is, what they're supposed to do. We are a body, all of us together. And in some things in your life, you will be the small toenail on the small toe.
mm,
Okay. But we need you because I don't know if you've never had that toenail. It really, really hurts. Okay.
mm.
Right. And in other stuff, you're going to be the liver. In other stuff, you're going to be the heart. So don't take this thing that you don't think that you're the heart in. We still need you.
Yeah.
We need every single one of us to come together to be a full group working together to make this thing work. So I just want everyone to hear that because sometimes I think we feel like, well, I'm just doing this. No, what you're doing is needed and you're awesome. So that's I don't know if I answered the question.
F. That was so beautiful.
Uh, Shannon, just to go along with what you were saying, though, like we are all the hands and feet and the different body parts of the body of Christ. And so part of what I help women figure out, you said learn to say yes, but it's also learning that your purpose and your assignment are different things, right? So we all have an underlying purpose to go out and spread God's word, to be disciples, to to spread his love and do all of that. That's what I believe, right? Because I do believe in Jesus. And but our assignment is that calling right in that time. It's that particular mission, right? And that is going to change. So, like you said, today I might be the toenail. Tomorrow I might be the heart. Next week I might be the hand because our assignment changes based on the seasons that we're in and what we're doing and what is going on within our life. And so some days we might be on the big stage for 5 minutes and then we're back to being the toenail or the fingernail or the index finger as that everyday woman, but the body doesn't function the same without them. So I love what you're saying in that. Like we all have a role and it's going to change sometimes day to day, sometimes season to season.
So I think that's really interesting. And as someone who talks a lot about protecting the decisions you make so that you can move yourself forward, I think I was just writing as you were talking, Meg, that you have an assignment and a mission and what you say yes to. But I think you also have to think about what is going to move you forward, right? Which missions do you accept? What boundaries do you install so that the decisions you're making for yourself in life, whether it's professional or personal, whether it's everyday activities or bigger ambitions and goals, what do you install in your life as a boundary so you say yes to the right things and not just yes to everything?
100%. In order to say right yes to what you need to, you have to say no to maybe 50 other
Absolutely.
things, right? And it's that
Absolutely.
discernment of even some of those yeses that are good are still not yours to say yes to.
Mhm.
Right, being in a season, right? It's that
Yes.
being in a season. What is in alignment with what your purpose is right now? Right?
Yep.
What have you outgrown? What are you growing into? And what do you need to protect in terms of energy and integrity so that you can keep moving forward and be true to yourself? Because I have found many things over the past 6 or 8 months that I'm like, no, that just doesn't work. Like how you choose a word of the year. I
Mhm.
struggled for a long time. And when I chose a line, and I was like, that's so basic. But the truth is, right now, that is what suits me. And I really, as my you know program evolves and my thinking evolves, really I have to be very careful about. I used to say yes to everything. You want to this podcast? Sure, absolutely. It's visibility. It
You're
has to be
skipping a little bit,
visibility with
Nancy.
purpose. And so you're right. And people need to you say that it's okay to. That's what if I turn my picture off, I won't skip. But that seems rude. What did you miss?
No, I want to see your face.
What I was saying is, you have to say for everything you say yes, it's okay to say no because it has to get you where you're going. And it's okay to say no. You have to get comfortable with saying no to protect your energy and your purpose and ambition.
So let's take this,
Absolutely.
yeah, into our identity, right? And I want to hear from you too. So who you see yourself as? Do you see yourself as the labels and categories and projections that people have put on you? Do you see yourself as a high achieving career woman? Do you see yourself as a stay-at-home mom only? Do you see yourself as unimportant? Or do you see yourself, those would be things to say no to, or do you see yourself as heart led, looking for deep connection, wanting to contribute to the greater good of society and your children and your legacy? And do you see that you can be significant even if you're insignificant? Because we're not. We've very clearly established that. And those are beautiful analogies of how we all piece together and like the cogs in a wheel or the cogs in a clock, right? Big and small all work together to keep things functioning. And if one little piece falls out, the whole system fails, as was beautifully described with the body. So this is where we want to think about, who do we see ourselves as? Why are we wishing that we were someone else? When you can choose to be that woman now. I can choose that I'm not a liar anymore. I've been set free from that. I can choose that I'm not an unchosen, awkward looking little girl that was never picked for teams or friends. I can choose that I can, pursue things of meaning of the heart like this and see them come to fruition, as is where is, on a Sunday morning, right? So, Anda, what's coming up for you in the conversation?
Mia, thank you for the question. I think for me, it's not about the labels and the mirrors that are reflecting back to you. It's more about awareness. And when I talk about awareness, I talk about um, what do you see in your life? How do you show up in life when nobody's watching, when it's really, really, really difficult and challenging? And I want to go back to my story and say that I had this really incredibly deep wound that happened to me, but that deep wound became my calling
Mhm.
and my biggest teacher. So instead of asking, why did this happen to me? When I live in awareness, I can ask, what is this awakening in me? Okay. Why did this happen to me compared to what does this teach me? And that's how I think I live my life, is I look at things from that. I'm not just a mother, a wife, an HR consultant, a coach, an achiever. I'm somebody that is expecting more of myself
Mhm.
when nobody is watching.
Mhm.
I'm somebody that um, apart from all this noise that goes on in the world around us, in our lives, I can discover myself in silence. And when I do this, and I run a morning platform where we sit in silence and we do meditation and we have a topic of the day that we go through. But the thing is that when you sit quiet and you ask yourself, what is trying to emerge through me? And you just sit and you listen and you don't force an answer. You don't create yourself, you remember yourself. And I think that is the big thing for me. It's
remembering who you really are right here in the core of where you were created. So for me, that's it.
Yeah. I have a whole little ramble to feed off of that. So beautiful. So the accent too, right, Shannon? Like, and we start talking, we're like, oh. But when we're created in the womb, when we come from the spiritual world to the physical world, we are divinely um, like awakened into that pure state of being. Like we'll never be as pure again as we are when we materialize as an embryo, right? And then we come out and life starts lifing on us and we get kind of further away. And the way that you describe that, Anda, is always trying to come back to that root, to that purity of soul and love from the moment of creation and living in that space. And so it's kind of a big concept, but we can break it down with the next set of questions, which Anda was kind of indicating as well, is where in my everyday life do I already see the woman I want to be? So at first we're wondering, who am I and who am I trying to be? But now, well, where are you already, that version? And what role might you be playing now that is actually shaping your identity more than you realize? So this woman that we seek, my latest tagline is be the woman you've been waiting for, right? Life coaching, be the woman you've been waiting for. You're already her. Where in my life is that woman already? And what is happening in life that's shaping your identity more than you realize? For me, it's motherhood. It's 100% motherhood, a little bit my job, just because my job confronts a lot of my insecure side, right? Like there's this fella. He's tall, he's ominous, he's bearded, and he just comes in and he's very gruff. But it's not because he's mean, he's just blunt, super blunt. And he intimidated the crap out of me for like the first year. And I'd avoid him and cower, falling to old patterns. And now I run into him in and about town because I live in a small community and we're all around each other. And I'm like, hey, so and so. And I see him at the counter. Hi, because I had to anchor in to myself and remind myself that he doesn't have power over me. I do, right? And I know who I am. So that's the job. I'm always like, why, God, why are you have me in bylaw enforcement? It's so annoying. But then I'm like, oh, right, because I'm a Deborah and I'm super kind and I'm just and I'm fair. And like I treat people well instead of being egocentric like all the men who work in the industry. So these are places that are helping shape my identity because, like Anda said, I'm allowing them to. The joke, why God, why, versus help me see and help me lean into, right? So where I'll put these in a chat, where in my everyday life do I see the woman I want to be in motherhood? The way that my daughter reflects things back to me, I'm like, bam, good job. But also like, wow, because they are little mirrors and they are watching and paying attention and then they give it back to you. And you're like, oh, is that how I'm behaving? Is that how I'm showing up? Is that how I want to show up? And is that the kind of version of me that I want to be here? Right? Is that cleansing? So, again, another roundtable around these. Where in your everyday life is the woman that you are looking for, waiting to be, already there? And what role are you playing now that could be shaping that identity and showing you, like Anda said, bringing you back to who you already are? I went first on this one, so am I going to have to call names?
I'll jump in. So as far as my everyday life outside of coaching, I also am a co-founder for a local nonprofit where we help women coming out of trauma. And we have a kitchen. We prepare pre-ordered meals, we have community dinners, we have random pop-ups, but lately we have been serving lunch for the veterans that live within our facility every day. And it's donation based. Most of our stuff is donation based. It's God provides for them, they provide for us. If people give us money as donations, that's what we buy food with. And so within that environment, though, of literally just serving, right? We're just in the kitchen, we're laughing, we're joking, we're building community gardens, we're doing the stuff, but it's not on this huge grand scale. Like it we had community dinner last week on Wednesday, and we had 40 people show up for a free dinner. We had spaghetti and meatballs and salad, and we just sat around and met neighbors and laughed and joked and just had a beautiful evening. And like that's the woman that I wish I'd had back then, like just someone to do life with, right? We're trying to build this community, this hive, just to do life with each other. And so being able to show up as that in the mundane, in the grime, right? Like literally going out to community dinner, and we've been in the kitchen baking, and like we had delivered a few meals. Like I had flour, I had spaghetti stains on my shirt, like because I'm not great about remembering an apron and all of that, right? Like so, but I'm out there and we're just laughing, and it didn't matter, right? Like I'm not cleaned up, I'm not polished, I'm not all this stuff. And it was glorious and beautiful. And so being able to show up in that everyday identity and know that we're making a difference, know that we're touching lives, know that we're building this thing that is bigger than us, it's a beautiful part. And I hope that I know that the community sees it and it's reflected back. And so I get to see that shaping as it's taking place within myself. And I absolutely love it.
Like a place where you're not proving. You just get to be who Meg is.
You just get to be, just get to be who Meg is. And for those that know me personally, food is my love language. Like that is how I show my love to my family. Like if you come to my house, you're going to be fed whether you're hungry or not. Like I'm like that 80-year-old grandma that's like, you have to eat. And so to be able to do that for the community and my friends and strangers, like it's the people that showed up to dinner Wednesday, I had never met any of them. And so like it's been new faces every time, which is even better because like I really don't have to prove myself because they're meeting me for the first time and you're meeting me with spaghetti sauce splashed on my shirt. Right? Here I am in all my glory.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Nancy, Shannon, or Anda?
Well, mine's not quite as, elaborate, I suppose, but, I made this transition from the corporate healthcare world to entrepreneurship. And so it's really been a journey of growth for me and learning to trust myself as a solopreneur without other people around. And I think I see the woman, as you say, what was it? What role am I playing? Well, I see her in small shifts, right? How I show up differently than I used to. So choosing presence instead of shrinking, right? I normally would not want to be in a room like this where you really could call me out. I would much, frequently I would prefer to be, even in the corporate healthcare world, I was more of a thinker. And I would just like quietly say something like under my breath about, like, oh, well, why don't you just do it this way? And, I remember one time my boss saying, well, say it louder, and things like that. Or another time when I was like, you're missing a community classroom in this blueprint that I was reading upside down. And my boss was like, oh my God, how could we have forgotten that? So I always was a little bit I'm finding my voice. And I guess just by being here and showing up, I'm finding that voice more consistently, that I'm showing up on stage. I am seeking out stages. Your podcast was the first one I ever did. I was as nervous as could be.
Oh,
Now, when I feel comfortable in a room, I typically, as you could see, like to talk.
yeah.
I mean, someone told me to podcast because I like to talk, but I only like to talk when I finally get comfortable. And
Yeah.
so, as I said before, Shannon, and I was so flattered. It was such a compliment and an acknowledgement of how far I've come. So I think that's how I'm showing up as the woman I'm trying to be, the woman with presence, the woman who has something and who feels that her message is worth sharing with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I will go next. I love all of that. And it's really funny because I was about to say the same thing, Nancy, me showing up here, because the person that I was until, I mean, I don't even, it doesn't matter how many years ago, I was a perfectionist. Like everything had to be perfect, or I wasn't going to go out there, and I couldn't stand what people could say about me and judge me. And, oh gosh, I wrote down what you said. And where did I write it? But not like, why is this happening to me? But what is this awakening in me? And I have had that experience over and over and over again, that I am so grateful for where I am and what I've been through, because I'm stepping into something very big right now. And had I not been through those little things before, I would never be able to do this. And it's just interesting to be able to look through your life and go, oh my gosh, this is so great. Like that stunk, but it was so great for right now. And if you can get better at looking at yourself in the moment and being able to see that, which is, Anda, what's what you're talking about, that's incredible. You're like, okay, this seems like it's really bad, but what is it awakening me in me? And so something that I really love about this, I wrote, I want people to move to into, and I'm going to be careful saying this. I don't think people should be so vulnerable that they're walking around as victims all the time and like, woe is me and this is happening. No, 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 no. But it's okay to show the real you.
Mhm.
So it's vulnerability, especially with women versus competition. I think I grew up with, we were very competitive with each other. I didn't like having that many girlfriends. I would have rather been, around the tomboys and stuff like that, because girls are mean. We can be very mean to each other. And so where in my everyday life, I'm trying to answer this question kind of in a roundabout way, but I am seeing that we've got myself here, Meg, Nancy, and Mia, and this is a wonderful group of people. We've shared very vulnerable things about ourselves that is telling each other how we are. I am moving my company, as I told you guys, I'm helping the millennials and the Gen Zs get to a place where they can get more imagination into their children. Okay. But as I'm doing that, it's led me to understand I want to be in the room with the millennials having this type of conversation so
Mhm.
they can get younger than we did.
Mhm.
And I'm really,
Right.
really excited about that. I want them to embrace each other. Like our moms had it where that they were in the neighborhood, right? And there wasn't social media, so they had to go outside and talk to each other, and your mom had friends in the neighborhood. Well, then you get to us, and we had more of I mean, when I was a younger mom, you had the social media, so you didn't have to be friends with anybody. And I think that's why it siloed us so much. And now you've got these younger generation, they don't know anybody. You can live in a neighborhood and literally not know anybody
Yeah.
because you're spending all your time on social media talking to people other places. I want this type of reality to come back into those lives of these parents now, because I think they're going to realize you don't go through anything that somebody else hasn't been through. Anda went through a terrible, terrible experience. She needs to be able to find people. Well, people need to be able to find her,
Yeah.
right? To be able to go through these things. And I just think that's where I'm showing up right now is I want to bring this beauty that our moms had that we missed. Let's give it back to the
Mhm.
younger generation because they have to realize they have a tribe. And that's been taken away because no, I've got to be careful about this too. This tribe is meeting on a device. There's good use of device and bad.
Yeah.
It's good to come together and talk like this. It's bad if you're spending your entire life by yourself doom scrolling
That's right.
and not figuring out who you are. So that's kind of where that person is. I want to be able to bring this comfort to the younger generation so they get here
Mhm.
before we did.
Mhm.
Because how beautiful and rich would that be for them?
And that's showing you like who you are, because probably 2, 3 years ago you wouldn't have expected that you'd be wanting to seek out and hang out with millennials. They're kind of
No,
like,
gosh, no.
right? But what a gift and what a like aha, talk about generational
They're
change.
so different. If they're listening, they're so different. They use so many words for one
Oh
emotion. I
yeah.
just sit there go, whoa, I didn't even know all those words existed for that emotion. Like they're bringing stuff out of me. It's great. Yes, yes.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And what about for you, Anta?
So for me, my life is obviously changing a bit because the girls have left the house and
Mm.
it's just me and Lynn and my mom, and me working on my grief to gratitude mastermind. And I write blogs and I write books and I run the mastermind. But I really would like to move to a place where people can look at me and say that I am the visionary taking grief to gratitude on a global platform to help people find their purpose in that journey. Because ultimately, that is what it's all about, is that you have a choice. Grief can make you immobilize, or grief can let you grow. But the choice is yours at the end of the day. And when you become immobilized with grief, you live life on autopilot. You go through the motions every single day, but your life is hollow, and nobody should live like that. So for me, that's my mission at this point in time, and that's the person that I'm working towards.
Mhm.
And also, when you interact with people, I work with David Nair from Australia as my life coach, and he always says, how do you leave people once you've interacted with them? Do you leave them better than what they were before you interacted with them? Or do you leave them the same as what they were?
Mm.
And for me, I always want to leave people better than what I found them.
I like the way you answer that because you're talking about who you are now with a vision to who more you want to be, right? So this is that ever expanding again, that we don't just get to a fully complete state. We're always allowing more of ourselves to grow and evolve. Shannon has grown and evolved since I met her, not even that long ago, late last year. And all these new developments are happening in her life. Nancy's already pivoted and gone deeper into her body of work. And Meg um, has been sharing how much she's handed over her previous business and guidance, right? And we're expanding. And I'm even coming into a greater place of certainty, conviction, and alignment in my work and what I'm doing. And bringing that everywhere with me, that it's not just static in one place. I'm not this Mia at work and this Mia at home or that Mia online. It's one Mia everywhere all the time, more and more. And my workplace has been really a blessing for that because I work at a very healthy work environment with a beautiful team of mostly women, and it's very safe for me to be me there. And so that allows me to practice who I am in one environment and then maintain that in the different environments I go to. I volunteer with Girl Guides. The kids love me because I'm so ridiculous and I can be so silly there. But what's so great is I can be so silly in the workplace too. Like we're local government, we're bureaucracy on steroids, and I'm bylaw compliance. Like it doesn't get any more mundane and plain than that environment. But I'm silly and I'm fun. And so all those other elements of myself. And they connect to a greater vision of being the voice for the everyday woman, of ensuring that we know our significance and that we are the majority of women with missions and purpose and dreams to bring into reality, and that we practice that again in small ways every day. And the way that I do that is through a habits practice. I've been habits tracking for 2 years. I can't believe it. I don't even take my birth control that consistently. Ha ha ha. As I go on and off it, I'm about to go on. Anyway, different conversation, perimenopause and all that. But habit tracking for over 2 years, not perfectly, but enough to keep me accountable to myself so that I can grow. And that's the point. It's not a performance, it's an accountability practice. And what's interesting is the 2025 stats in my habit practice, I think I hit about 35% performance, but the metric around that is very skewed because some months had like a 300-point metric and some months had maybe a 50-point metric. Because I was a high achiever and, performing and wanting to do a hit list, I would have upwards of 12 habits a day, air quotes, where now I have maybe 6 or 8 and they're intended to rotate. I'm trying to hit 3 to 4 of them a day, right, over a period of time and hit a minimum of 15 to 18 each a month overall. So I'm constantly adjusting that. But what the context of this is how I make my identity actionable and embodied in my day to day. So it's not having the perfect morning routine. It's not having, some Pinterest, Instagram worthy system. It's being very dynamic and responsive based on parameters that are anchored into my values and organized around those 4 pillars: spirituality, heart, emotion, and body. Bible time, self love or relaxing time, emotional regulation, spending time in an emotion and letting it teach me, and taking care of the body. And then executing on that around some to dos and stacking that over time. And so in 2025, like I said, a 35% metric, we'd be like, wow, how could you be bragging about that? But what happened was it built me. I was published in 2 books. I did chapter contributions in 2 different books. My podcast hit 100 episodes right before the end of 2025. Bam. I launched the summit in 2025. I partnered with Meg and Paula in the Phenomenal Collective, and now we're growing that into a whole new business model together. And a number of other little things that stack and stack and stack. And how did I do that? By choosing myself based on an organized system, structure without constriction, because life is messy and we're never going to be fully like a bullseye shot every day, but you get enough bullseyes, they stack over time. So that's the next component of this, where I really want the listeners to understand these things still might sound a bit la-ti-da. They're not. They're the way we live. They're the choices we make, and they're how we hold ourselves accountable, which is really living from reactive to proactive. So I'm going to open it back up, but let me just get this last bit out. I have this beautiful friend whom I adore, but she's kind of self-defeating. She's still choosing the same patterns and just treading water but not moving. And I'm trying to push. And she's made beautiful progress. We all go at our own pace. This is more, yeah, judging a little bit in love, because my desire for her is greater because I see what she could have. You need to change in order for you to change and in order for circumstances around you to change. That's the point. And how do we do that? We have to pick ways, and now we're going to listen to the panel on how we are more proactive about our identity and about our day to day in the messiness of life.
I can go first. I think the way, um, if I understood the question, like how do you become who you want to become?
Yeah.
How could this moment become an identity? I think a lot of it has to do with, I have learned to sit in silence by myself to just sort of reflect. It's not meditating, so to speak, the way you would think of meditating. But it's like sitting with myself and processing my thoughts. So that's the first way I do things. But I'm also constantly learning, and not random learning. like very targeted learning based on what my own goals are. And some of those are personal goals, weight loss, fitness, etc. Your perimenopause, I'm postmenopause, there's just like all that.
Mhm.
But the rest of it is also in becoming, a better thought leader, a better coach, refining my message. And a lot of that time spent thinking or even journaling. I journal way more than I used to ever since October. I'm not sure what happened to my brain. I was never much of a writer. And now I write like well, I type. I do it on the computer because I'm faster, carpal tunnel and all that. But and so I process my thoughts a lot more than I think I used to. I think I just like had thoughts and was very mechanical back 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
And I think I have evolved, and that people need to evolve and give themselves ways to evolve. You can't have a day that's so packed with activities and meetings and no time for yourself. But also, as a businesswoman or an executive, a leader, you have to have downtime, so to speak, that I think of as thinking time. And it doesn't matter where it happens. My thinking time this week has been all in the car. I've been driving my daughter who's visiting back and forth to this thing she's going to that's, half an hour away. So I'm not normally in the car that much. And I've had some of my best thoughts in the car and thinking,
Yeah.
I got to remember that. Got to remember that. Because you drive, you can't suddenly I'm not coordinated enough to do a voice note while I'm driving. Um, but, so I think you really have to carve out the time wherever it is. Because if you are a busy mom with, I remember what it's like to have a 7-year-old. You're running all around, but you have to give yourself time to just think and be with your thoughts and with yourself. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a perfect example that's portable with no requirements that's available. Washing dishes, folding laundry, um, mindlessly sometimes when I'm reading bedtime stories. The book is here, but my mind is here. There's opportunities to give that to ourselves, is what I'm hearing from Nancy's answer. And it's up to each of us to find where those opportunities more are. So, exactly the prompt question: how could this moment become an identity shaping practice?
I will throw in, so I teach a class called Break the Chain, and what it is, it helps adults break free from the chain of their cell phones, their screens. And I give two practices that I actually practice as well, and they're very simple, but they have really helped me, and they've helped the people who've gone through the class. So I will share those. But so
Mhm.
I really try hard to get people not to pick up their phone the first thing in the morning, because if you do that, you are having the outside world dictate your entire day, and it can throw you completely off, even if you see your own to-do list.
Yeah.
It just gets you stressed, and that whole part of your body then starts going, right? So I do these two things, and you can journal, and I totally agree with Nancy. Journaling is fantastic. It just gets stuff out of you, and it's pen to paper or fingers to to
Yeah.
keys. But you're getting this stuff out of you, and you're sitting with your own thoughts. But so in the morning, and if it's just 2 minutes, it's fine. If you can do 5 minutes, great. 10 minutes, right? Whatever you can do. But I call it 3+3, and it's focus plus fuel. And all it is you start with a focus of three things you're grateful for. And it can be anything. It could be the pillow you just slept on,
Mhm.
right? Whatever comes to you, because when you start being grateful about small things, then the big things come, right? So you do three things you're grateful for. You can write them down, or I just usually say them in my head. And
Mhm.
then you do the fuel. I'm sorry. It's fuel plus focus. So the fuel is getting yourself fueled by gratitude, because gratitude changes everything. It
Mhm.
just really does. And then the focus is, what are the three intentions for the day? So you're setting intention. And again, it can be as simple as remembering to take my birth control. Like literally, that's all it has to be. But you've set the intention, so you will do it, right? Or I'm going to call my mother-in-law,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm going to shower, which can be hard for me sometimes.
Yes, same.
But you've said it. Now it's good if you write it down, because you can go and check yourself. But that's really it. Super simple, but you're grateful and you're intentional. And then at the end of the day, We're really much better if we put our phones down before we don't take it into bed with us. So I try to get people like to do that for at least 10 minutes, right? And once you start doing these things, then you realize how much more happy you are and you can extend it. But I like to do the rest and reset. So it's just three things you're grateful for again. So you've had this day, let's get back into gratitude. And then you pick three things you're going to let go.
Mhm.
And you're not going to go to bed with them. Again, it could be super simple, but it's like, I'm just not going to worry about this. Like you could have gone to bed last night, Mia, and be like, I'm not going to worry about tomorrow morning. It's going to go great. You have just let yourself let it go. So
Yeah.
those are the two things I do every morning and every night because it resets my brain and it gets me into gratitude and it just brings up the things that are important and it's really easy. So
Yeah, no tech, no fuss, no special meditation room with the perfect decor and pillow and lighting and soundproofing. Super portable and everywhere. And one thing I want to pull out of that, Shannon, is the letting go. Because the letting go or the holding on will continue to shape your
uh-huh.
sense of yourself. And so I had an interaction about 2 weeks ago now, and it was spinning and spinning and spinning in my head, and I just kept choosing it. And I went into Chat GPT. I've been really enjoying the conversation in there, the reflecting back. And Chat GPT reminded me that I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not in control of other people's reactions. And I was feeling what I was feeling because I'm self aware and caring, and I'm habituated to a pattern of certain behavior. And when it reflected that back to me, I was like, oh, I can let that go.
Yes.
I can see that, like, how loving and caring am I, almost to my own detriment, to be so concerned about these very peripheral people, you know? Um, what are they thinking or how did I do? And going, babe,
And
you did fine. It's
and you sitting there
okay.
stewing on it isn't going to
Yes,
change anything.
for
And I
days.
And I think for me too, when I do the let go, I love what you said. You're like, I'm still choosing this. And I get to laugh at myself, like,
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Like, really? We're still ruminating on that one? Because I do that. I'm really good at ruminating.
yeah.
So just yeah. And one other thing I wanted to throw in there, because I've written it down, self-talk. I know you have it listed in there, but I am really bad about being like, oh, that was so stupid, or I'm such an
Mhm,
airhead. Don't say that to yourself.
mhm.
Our words create our reality. Don't and I'm working on that very much. So that's another thing I'm doing, catching myself saying those little things that we don't think mean a lot, but it does mean a lot because what you speak puts it out into the world and
Yeah,
makes it happen. So I just want to make people conscious of hearing yourself saying that to yourself. You would never say that to another person. So don't say
right.
it to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so I alluded earlier that I run a morning platform called Fire to Wire, where we do silence time meditation and we have a topic of the day. But my day starts the night before when I do my journaling and my gratitude and the introspection, and just analyzing my day, seeing what happened, what could I have done differently, what can I do better, what am I thankful for. So I do all of those things, and then Mia, I also have a habit tracker on my wall. But then with that, because I work with David, he I've got a calendar, an annual calendar for 2026, where every single day has got some activity written on, whether I need to do a blog, whether I need to do a video, whether I need to do a static, whether I need to do a podcast, whether I'm going out with my family, whether I'm going for a hike, whether I'm going to go for whatever. Everything has been planned for this entire year. And then next to that, I have my vision board for 2026. So I can look at my vision board every morning. But with my vision board, I have written a story for 2026
Mhm,
at the end of the year. So every
mhm,
morning I stand here and I read my story of what is happening in my life in 2026 in conjunction with my vision board. And then I have my affirmations on. Um, So yeah, all these things really, really, really work, and they help to bring everything together. And when you do your journaling, you we practice a 7-layer deep questioning technique where we ask why until you find the right answer. And it's quite an interesting process to go through. So when you go through all of these things and these practices and we've got 92 modalities that we work with. Um, it's incredible how your life actually just come together. Okay. And how it gets structured and how you just shed the things that doesn't really matter and how you focus on the things that actually makes the difference.
That's a beautiful system to support you choosing your identity on a day-to-day basis, right? It's visual, it's there, you can connect. Having that vision, reading that every day or most days feeds the soul and reminds you of your why. Our why is what drives us. Shannon's very passionate about the millennial moms. It's beautiful. And you can see that's going to drive her. My friend at work asked if I ever get tired because I'm doing a lot, right? And I said, my flesh gets tired, but my spirit is constantly on fire, constantly on fire. And that's what keeps me going and why I can hold. That's how we grow our capacity and that's how we grow our identity and can hold more and more. Meg, I invite you to answer the question too before we have to ever so sadly start to close this circle on,
Um,
on identity shaping in a moment to moment.
yeah, and so Mia, you know that I have this mantra, but coming out of alcoholism and a life of just chaos that I was creating myself,
Yes.
a few years ago, I created this mantra of I'm living the peace that I prayed for. And so, how I go about my everyday is, am I stewarding that peace that I have gotten now? What do my boundaries look like? Like Nancy said, am I saying no to what I'm supposed to say no to? Right. And when I'm looking at choices and daily things, if it is not contributing to the peace that I now have in my life, I am not saying yes to it. Right. And so setting aside that time as well, like Nancy said. So I'm going to be completely transparent. This is the only work thing that I have done in 6 months on a Sunday because I have been honoring the Sabbath and I set Sundays aside. But I love Mia to pieces and this was important. So I said yes to this. But that is part of those decisions, right? Is it going to provide my peace? Is it giving me the time that I need to reconnect, to do all of those things? I also track my habits. I also journal. I also practice gratitude, like Shannon said, because honestly, and ladies, if the journaling is not your thing when it comes to gratitude, one thing that I have done that literally changed a girlfriend of mine's life when we first started it was we texted each other. We did it for 30 days. At the end of the night, send each other 3 gratitudes. And I can tell you by the end of those 30 days, the level of depth that our gratitude had grown to, it wasn't just, oh, I had a great day at work. Like it was deep because your mind just changes and it transforms. So if you're not a journaler, grab a friend, do a gratitude thread. It's amazing as far as shaping your identity because when you choose to live in gratitude, like there's no room for the other nonsense, right? It's just going to get crowded out. But yeah, so that's really how I'm shaping my identity every day is, am I stewarding the peace that I used to long for? Because I have it now.
Yeah.
And it's my job to be a good steward of it and to make sure that my day and my week and my month is arranged to protect that.
Yeah. And that piece is something that you can choose now in your circumstances and
Mm-hmm.
and over time evolve because I'm living in that too. I'm living in a far more peaceful state of being where I'm far less overwhelmed and I'm still creating. I'm still fulfilling my calling, my purpose, or even just the fun that's in my heart to throw something like this together, but not overwhelmed. That's when I host these summits, I'm always like, they're not to Shannon, right? It's not a good example of how summits are because it's so chill. It's so laid back and laissez-faire and easy to participate in and low tech, etc. But I choose that because the versions of me that I was before needed to prove something. And now I just need to be and be someone, and that someone is me. And finding ways to continue to support her, i.e., myself, on a daily basis. And this is how, like, I'm creating more peace and more joy, more meaning, more connection, more presence, and letting, yeah, entrepreneurs, letting the business be its own thing that I'm not super attached to. Maybe it's like an almost independent late teenager right now, right? And it's running on its own, and I'm checking and I'm watching, but it's not a colicky baby that I need to be with 24/7. God help me. So these are, I hope, really bring forth very tangible, very day-to-day ways that we choose to support ourselves and be very proactive in our identity in the mundane. Folding laundry, like, I love the laundry joke, and I've been taking every once in a while videos of me where I'm sharing a message while folding laundry. How much more every day can you get than that, right? Everybody's got to fold laundry. Let's have a chat while I'm doing that, two things at once. And I get to choose to be that woman. So as we bring this into a closing, a very rich and honest conversation, I want you as the listeners to think about what identity you want to practice. What version of you are you going to show up as in triggering moments, in peaceful moments, in moments at the grocery store, in moments at traffic, at the soccer game, in moments with your spouse around the dinner table, your family, whatever your setup is. Who are you going to choose to be in that moment? And are you going to live your life based on striving on your way to a destination, or based on acting in a legacy mindset where each day matters as a piece of your future generations? Is your daily life based on striving to achieve a destination, or based on a legacy mindset that each day matters? It's a big difference. I lived in the first half of that prompt for a long time, probably 20 years. I'm only starting to unpack that now. Maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe 6 months more genuinely in that frame of mind, in that state of spirit. And it is way more liberating than anything else while all this other stuff is happening. I don't even know how. I don't even know how. This is going to wrap up. I'm going to go host a Girl Guide event. I'm going to hang out with my daughter for the rest of the day. Like, I can't explain in the physical how I'm able to do all these things other than being intentional with who I want to be and how I want to show up. And I'm not perfect by any stretch ever. I say lousy things to myself, to others. I still react. I still am so very human, but I'm growing myself in this organized way: emotional, spiritual, heart, body, connection. That's the bonus pillar: community, because that's the biggest power. I could have sat here and rambled on for an hour and a half, but what really brings it to life is the conversation that we have together, and how everyone's going to hear from each other in a different way and shift something that only could have come from that woman who said it. So this kind of brings us up to the grand finale. And I don't know if you guys have been following Source Message. And this year, Source Message, if you don't know it, on Facebook, that's what it's called. I can't figure out who the person is. It seems like some random Hispanic dude from the little rabbit hole research I've done. But Source Message is messages from the divine, Christian or not, it can't really tell, but they are so beautiful. And the one on Jan 31 was the one that I felt compelled to share with you guys at the end of this summit. And it goes like this. Most people will never know how much it took for you to create this space of peace for yourself. Most of them haven't even done it for themselves. Remaining in this space isn't just about seeking ways to be positive. Your mind and body will automatically do that if you allow them to. But the important role for you is to no longer entertain low vibrating situations that take you off your throne. You've done a lot of work to get here, and self-love means maintaining it too. This is the elevation. This is the permission and the journey, not a destination, the journey. So those are my closing words, and I welcome all of you to share some closing words too, if you feel called.
It's hard to follow that, but I just wanted to thank you for putting this together. And I feel very, very blessed to have met you, Mia, and then today, Amanda, Megan, Nancy. Like, what a wonderful group of people. And I love that that quote said, no one knows what you've gone through to get to this peaceful moment. And we heard everybody's testimonies before we got on here, and it's just a privilege and an honor to know all you. And I'm excited for what's going to happen in the future with all of us. So thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to echo that too. You never know when somebody brings in a bunch of people, and you couldn't have known how the conversations would have gone and gelled and interacted. But, the fact, at least for me, that I can think of someone that I know to connect every single one of you to at some point or opportunities, I get a lot of joy out of that, as I had said. So thank you for bringing people I would never have met together.
Hi, Mia and everyone. I just want to say thank you so much for doing the summit, for bringing us together, because it created an opportunity for us to remember who we are still becoming, and that it's never too late and we're not behind, but we're on a sacred journey and we still have so many beautiful things to achieve and to become. So thank you so much for that.
And I definitely echo all of that. Thank you, Mia. I've been part of your summits before, but this one was so different and so amazing. And this group of women just blew my mind. And if you are listening, my closing thought to you is don't be afraid to say yes to the random things that you feel that nudge to. Like today, we all said yes and had this glorious interaction in the mundane, right? Like we're sitting in our offices, in our rooms, whatever. I have bed full of laundry behind me that you can't see. I'm trying to like be big, right? So you can't see the clothes on the bed. But this is what the everyday woman rising up, changing lives, doing the stuff is about. It's not being afraid to say yes to it in the scary, in the crazy, in the nonsense, in the everyday moment. Just say yes because you don't know what is going to happen.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, thanks from the bottom of my heart, and watch out, I'll probably come for y'all again. I don't let go of people after heart connections like this. So to the listeners, go be a powerful everyday woman, because there's no limits to what you can do, and you can choose who you want to be. And we're here to show you exactly how possible and real that is. So we'll see you again in June and in between. Thank you for joining, and thank you to all of you beautiful women for so willingly participating in this with me. Goodbye.